Us men don't avoid talking about our feelings because we don't have any. We avoid it because deep down we think that if we do share them, it's going to cost us the respect or the attraction of our wives. We think things like, who would be attracted to a man like that? But the truth is, this is one of your wife's biggest needs and her desires, and I have the statistics to prove it. By the end of today's episode, you will know exactly how to talk about what's going on inside you and the 4 strategies that you can implement today to communicate how you feel and to get closer to your wife by meeting her biggest need, which is emotional connection. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Dad Nation podcast, the place where high-performing men are empowered to reclaim their home, their health, and their happiness while enhancing their career success. You see, in a world full of noise, burnout, and mediocrity, we believe what's missing is courageous and compassionate leadership in the home, because when the dad gets better, the whole family wins. You see, this isn't just a podcast. It's a movement for men who refuse to settle for less in their families, in their focus, and their future. We are curse breakers and we are legacy makers. I am your host, Mitchell Osmond, and I'm honored that you've chosen to invest your most valuable asset, which is your time, with me today. Now let's get into it. All right, here we go. So listen, maybe this is you today. You can lead teams, you can close deals, you can carry all kinds of pressure at work. But when your wife asks one simple question, how are you really doing? Your mind goes blank. That's not because you don't have feelings. It's because somewhere deep down, you're afraid that if you say the wrong thing, you'll lose her respect or her attraction or the authority you have in your home. And today, I want to clear something up right from the start, okay? This episode is not about becoming soft, emotional, or unstable, okay? It's about learning how to communicate what exactly is happening inside of you without losing respect or attraction. Because this isn't a personality issue, it's a training gap. So listen, studies suggest that over 70% of men struggle to accurately identify or verbalize their emotions. And psychologists actually have a term for this. You might have heard me say this before if you're a longtime listener of the Dad Nation podcast, but this term is called normative male alexithymia. And at the end of the day, that's just a fancy way of saying you were never taught the language for your inner thought life, for your inner world. And so this word alexithymia, which has roots from the Greek words, the first part is a, which means lack or without, lexis, meaning word or words, and thymos, meaning emotions or feelings. So taken all together, normative male alexithymia means it's normal for a male to have a lack of words for emotions or their feelings. Now, it doesn't mean you don't have emotions. You certainly do. Otherwise, you'd never lose your cool. You'd never get irritable. You'd never be grumpy. It just means that no one ever trained you how to express them without consequences. But before you start thinking that you're finally off the hook because you're going to go drop this fancy word on your wife and tell her that you're normal and that you're not changing, hear me say this today. Your wiring may explain you, but it doesn't excuse you. Okay? Here's why this matters so much. About 70% of divorces in the United States today are initiated by women. You would have heard me quote this statistic before. But here's the kicker. Out of those 7 out of 10 divorces that are initiated, 80% of the time, the main reason cited for the divorce is, can you guess what it is? It's not cheating. It's not sex. It's not money. It's not kids. It's emotional disconnection or unmet emotional needs. So what does this mean? This isn't about communication tactics. It's a connection crisis. All right, and the data is screaming at us. And this is one of the biggest threats to the modern marriage. And most men were never trained for it. We talked about this a little bit with Quentin Hafner a couple of weeks ago on the Dad Nation podcast. If you haven't heard that episode, go back and listen to it at some point. He talks about how to lead your family, but we get into the emotions. Fantastic insights from a trained marriage therapist. He's been in the industry for a long, long time. But now, here's the first time I learned about this, and I learned this lesson. I remember the first time my wife, Sam, asked me a question that completely stopped me in my tracks. And she didn't ask about work. She didn't ask about logistics or plans. She looked at me and said, Mitchell, how's your heart? And instantly my brain went into problem-solving mode. How's my heart? I asked myself, man, what does that even mean? The language felt so mushy, right? It felt unfamiliar. The words felt foreign in my mouth. And so instead of giving her the answer that she wanted, I tried to give her an update, a report, a summary of what I did that day. You see, that's not what she was asking for. She was asking how I was doing, not what I was doing. And I felt unprepared, almost like I had walked into a room without the right tools, because I had spent years learning how to lead externally, but no one taught me how to lead internally, lead myself emotionally, lead my family emotionally. And then came the moment that changed things forever for me. The first time I actually opened up, not with a solution, not with confidence, but with a fear, a pressure that I had been carrying silently, a worry I thought that I was supposed to handle alone. But instead of shutting down, dodging the question, or deflecting, I actually answered her with a feeling. And I said something like this: I'm actually feeling a little bit anxious today because I'm about to step into this promotion. And I think deep down, I'm afraid that I don't really have what it takes, or the people that I'm leading won't follow my vision. I was about to get a promotion into a higher level of leadership, and I was feeling just a little bit unprepared, maybe a little bit insecure. But the craziest thing happened next, okay? I expected her to lose respect for me. I was just waiting for it. I expected her to judge me. I expected distance. But what I got instead was safety, closeness, and a sense of relief. And that's when I realized something powerful. I didn't lose respect. I gained trust. And attraction followed that emotional leadership, not silence. She looked at me and her eyes softened. And she said, "Thank you so much." Because when you're real about where you're at, it actually makes me feel so much more connected to you. It makes me remember or realize that I'm not married to a feelingless, flawless robot. And actually, it makes me more comfortable being honest with you. She was so relieved. It was like a breath of fresh air. I'll never forget the look on her face. This was a huge breakthrough moment for me. And that was 8 years ago. And I remember it like it was yesterday. Okay? From that day on, it was not lost on me, the importance of opening up. Now, not too much, right? Which we're going to talk about, but enough to make her feel connected to me. Now, why is this so hard for men? Most men don't shut down emotionally because they want to. They don't walk into the conversation with the goal to shut down. They shut down because of how they were trained. Men are trained for performance, not processing. Right? We're praised for being stoic, not expressive. We're rewarded for fixing problems, not talking about them. Right? And so we internalize a few dangerous lies. 3 of them, actually, and there's probably a lot more. But as I articulate these 3 lies, tell me which ones you believe, if not all 3. I know I believed in all 3 of these. The lie number 1 we believe is that if I talk about my feelings, I'll look weak. Number 2, if I can't fix it, there's no need to talk about it. I've said that verbatim to my wife. Hey, why are we talking about this if we can't fix it? Lie number 3 we believe is that strong men carry the weight alone. I got this. There's a bit of nobility, even we carry, a little bit of pride we carry with that. I'm going to take care of my business. But here's the truth. Emotional shutdown doesn't protect attraction. It actually slowly erodes attraction. Why? Because it kills trust. It kills safety. It kills desire, and it kills intimacy. Your wife does not want to be married to a turnip, all right, who doesn't feel anything. So I want you to hear me say this quite clearly. You were never broken. You are just under-trained. And today we're going to fix that, okay? Because I'm going to give you 4 shifts that you can make today, okay? These aren't therapy tools. They are emotional leadership skills. You can use these with your wife. You can use these with your kids. You can actually use them in the workplace to a certain extent. And they're going to teach you how to talk about your feelings without losing respect or attraction. Because in my experience with coaching men, we either don't talk about it at all, or it builds up and builds up and we blow up and we lay it all on our wives and overwhelm them. And then we don't want that either. So shift number 1 is the I feel, I fear framework. Okay, real simple. I feel, I fear. This is how to open up without blame, drama, or losing respect. Here's the simplest place to start. Most men think that they have two options when it comes to emotions. Say nothing and shut down, or let it all spill out sideways when the pressure builds. All right? Both cost you respect. We don't want to do either of those two things. So instead, I want to give you a controlled, masculine framework, and it's one sentence. I feel blank, and I fear blank. That's it. Here's the thing. Here's why it works. The feeling is the surface emotion that you speak, and the fear is what's underneath. The fear of failing, the fear of letting people down, the fear of not being enough. And this works because there's no blame, there's no fixing, there's no emotional chaos, just the truth. And truth, when delivered calmly, builds emotional safety. So let me give you two real-life examples so you can hear the difference, okay? Just for the record, I've done both of these, the poor way, the wrong way. When you're handling a bunch of work stress, right? When you come home, you're stressed out. The old way usually sounds like this. Work's been brutal. I'm tired of carrying everything. No one gets how much pressure I'm under. And notice what happens here. There's no clarity. There's no ownership. And your wife doesn't even know how to respond to that. How do you respond to that? So she either tries to fix it or she shuts down herself. Now, listen to the I feel, I fear framework. I think I feel a little overwhelmed, maybe on edge lately. And I fear that if I slow down, I'm going to drop the ball and let people down around me. Do you hear the difference? No blame, no performance, no emotional dumping, right? Just ownership. And here's why this builds respect instead of costing it. Because you're not asking her to fix anything. You're just letting her see you without making her responsible for you. That's leadership, right? That's emotional leadership. The second example, she might feel disconnected from you, right? Maybe you're working a lot. Maybe you're checking out, whatever the case is. But if she's feeling disconnected from you, it's not, there's a reason for it, okay? This is one of the most common moments men freeze, or they say the wrong thing. Because she comes to you and she says that she feels distant, or she feels disconnected. Hear the old response, all right? This old response usually sounds quite defensive. It sounds like this. Babe, I don't know what you want from me. I'm doing my best. I work super hard for this family, and I don't feel like you're respecting that. Right? Now the walls are up. Now her walls go up, your walls go up, her attraction drops, connection shuts down. Right? No one's going to be attracted to a man who talks like that. But now listen to the same moment using this framework, feel and fear. Babe, honestly, I'm feeling a little unsure and a little disconnected when we're distant. And I fear that I'm not showing up in a way that makes you feel close or chosen. Do you feel that too? Is that true for you too? You see, that sentence does something powerful. It shows humility without weakness. It takes ownership without collapse. It's strength without defensiveness. You see, you take on that ownership and you communicate. And most importantly, it invites connection instead of conflict. Her walls don't go up when you communicate it that way. Now, here's why this framework works, because the sentence structure protects you from three common mistakes that we make as men. Number one, we overshare, right? We blame. And number three, we emotionally dump sometimes. It's like I said in the beginning, it's one or the other. We're shutting down or we're going way overboard with it. And here's what it does for you. It keeps you grounded. It keeps you communicating clearly. And it holds your respect. It keeps you respectable. You're not saying everything. You're not supposed to say everything. You're saying the right thing. And that's the difference between emotional chaos and emotional leadership. Does that make sense? Listen, I want you to hear me say this. Strong men don't hide their emotions. They translate them. And when you learn how to translate what's happening inside of you, you stop losing respect and start building safety, trust, and attraction instead. Okay, hopefully that was helpful for you. Let's move on to shift number 2, which is called the 60-second share. Quick pause here, brother, because if your marriage feels flat, the intimacy is rare, conversations are turning tense, or deep down, you're just worried that maybe you're slowly becoming roommates. I see you. So listen in for a moment. Most marriages don't drift because guys stop caring. They just run out of energy, ideas, and clarity. And that's exactly why I created the Spark Starter Kit, which is your romance on autopilot for an entire year. It's a done-for-you system that removes all the pressure and the guessing. All right, it's 365 pre-written text messages for every situation, so you never have to stress about what to say. Just copy, paste, personalize, and watch your eyes light up. It's 52 date night blueprints, one pre-planned date for every week of the year. So all you have to do is show up and be the hero. There's 100 conversation starters that are designed to engage her and turn up the heat. So you never have to worry about the conversation getting dull or boring. And it also includes the Romance Reset, which is a 3-part mini course, which is strategically designed to take you from bored roommates to passionate soulmates. So what's the result? More intimacy, less tension. More passion, less thinking. Be able to meet her every need without ever having to even think about it. So if you want to get the fire back in your marriage, grab the Spark Starter Kit, okay? The link is in the show notes below. All right, now let's get back to the episode. Let's move on to shift number 2, which is called the 60-second share. This is how to open up without rambling, dumping, or killing attraction, okay? One of the biggest mistakes men make when they try to open up is they think that it has to be long and deep and drawn out, or they think it has to be perfect. So they either say nothing or they unload everything that they've been holding in all at once, right? Here's the thing. Both of those create pressure. Here's the thing. Both of those, when you say nothing or you totally unload, both of those create pressure, and pressure kills safety. The whole point is to have your wife feel emotionally safe with you. So it's 60 seconds of sharing. You're not asking for solutions. You're not defending yourself. You simply communicate it. That's it. You're not trying to resolve anything. You're simply letting her see what's going on inside of you briefly, consistently, and calmly. Okay? Let me show you what this looks like in real life. Okay, here's a first example. You're home from work. You guys have put the kids down, and you're finally having a chance to catch up. But here's how this usually goes wrong. Like I said, when you finally sit down, your wife asks you how your day was. The old response goes something like this. It was fine, just busy, right? Or the other extreme, honestly, it was a nightmare. I had meetings all day. Everyone was screwing things up. I'm exhausted, and I don't know how long I can keep doing this. You ever been there? I've been in both of those scenarios, okay? Now, in both of these scenarios, she's either shut out or she's overwhelmed. There's no middle ground here. Because the feminine responds to the masculine energy, right? Feminine energy responds to masculine energy. This is why it's so important. So listen to this 60-second share instead. Hey, babe, before we get into the evening, I just want to share something real quick with you. Now, this week has felt way heavier than usual, and I've been carrying a lot mentally, and I noticed that I've actually been more distracted. I don't need to fix anything right now, but I just wanted you to know where I'm at. That's it. No spiral, no drama, no emotional dumping. And here's what that does. It lowers her guard and it builds trust. And it makes emotional access feel safe, not burdensome. Like if your wife actually bites onto this, she's not just going to get overwhelmed by a dump truck of drama or anxiety or frustration. Now for the third shift, which is potentially the one that I've struggled with the most over the last 10 years of marriage. And this shift is simply what I call verbal validation. And this shift is where most men unintentionally sabotage connection. Not because they don't care, but because they are wired to solve, not to signal safety. All right, I know very few men who do this well naturally. But here's what happens. When your wife shares something emotional, your instinct is to fix it, to explain it, mansplain it even better, or to correct it. And every time you do that, she does not feel helped. She feels unheard. You see, validation is not about agreeing. It's about acknowledging her internal experience. And when you do that, when you acknowledge her emotional or her internal experience, attraction doesn't drop. It actually increases. So let me show you what this looks like in real life. Boys, I'm giving you the goods, man. I wish I had this 10 years ago. Holy cow. Okay, example number 1. You come home from work, you're tired, right? And she starts talking about something that to you seems quite small. She comes to you frustrated about something. In your mind, it's not a big deal, right? It could be maybe a fight she had with her mother, or some disagreement she's having with her friend, or something that went on with the kids. Your instinctive response might be something like, babe, that's not worth getting upset about. Or you might say something like, I think you're just overthinking this. You see, what she hears in that moment is your emotions are an inconvenience, or your emotions are not correct, which I tell you what, man, no woman wants to hear. She does not want to feel that. Now, watch what happens when you validate instead of fix. You might say something like this instead. Babe, I could see why that would be so frustrating. That would get me frustrated too. That's it. Notice that you didn't agree, you didn't solve, you didn't cave. You simply acknowledged her experience and moved on. And the moment she feels understood, her nervous system calms, right? So the key insight here for you is that validation lowers emotional intensity, but fixing or attempting to fix it raises it. It raises her emotional intensity, okay? A second scenario that you might find yourself in. If she feels unappreciated or distant, all right? Been there, okay? This one hits every man pretty hard, I think. She might say something like, I just don't feel very connected to you lately. I wish you would help out more. Now, the defensive response comes pretty quickly, or at least it does for me. You might say something like, that's not fair, babe. I work hard for this family. Why don't you see that? You see what just happened? You made this conversation about you, not the issue. So here's what verbal validation sounds like instead. Babe, that makes sense. I can actually see how that would feel lonely for you. And I'm really glad you told me. Notice what you didn't do. You didn't apologize for existing. You didn't collapse. You didn't argue. You stayed present. And that presence is attractive. You just made her feel seen, right? You didn't get defensive. Now, the reason why verbal validation works is because it does three powerful things. Number one, it creates safety. Because when she feels seen, she softens. Number two, it lowers defensiveness on both sides, right? There's nothing to fight when no one is being corrected. The walls don't go up, so there's no walls to try and break down. Number three, it keeps you in masculine leadership because you're grounded, you're calm, and you're emotionally steady. That's what I'm talking about when I say masculine leadership. I'm not saying being domineering and overly assertive. I'm saying you're grounded, you're calm, and you're an emotional safe place for your family. That's masculine leadership. This is not weakness. This is emotional strength under control. So I know you listen to this and you're probably like, I don't know what to say. How do I know what to say? Well, let me give you some phrases that you can use, because you don't need perfect words. You just need consistent ones, okay? I want you to memorize these 4 statements. Number 1, that makes sense. That's it. That makes sense. Number 2, I can see why that felt heavy. I can see why you're struggling with that, right? Something like, I can see why, fill in the blank. Number 3, I get why that hurt. I get why you're frustrated. I get why you're disappointed. Number 4, thanks for telling me. End them with gratitude. Hey, thank you for opening up to me. Thank you for sharing this with me, right? It makes her feel safe sharing it again, because emotional connection is so key. So in summary, that makes sense. Number 2, I can see why blank, blank, right? Number 3, I get why blank. Number 4, thank you, right? Thank you for telling me. Now, this is why this is so important, because validation is not the end of the conversation. It's the door that makes the conversation possible. Okay, and last note on this, all right? This isn't about being mowed over by your wife, okay? Because your wife is the goal of her. She's not trying to be right. That's actually not what builds attraction. Attraction does not grow because a woman is right. It grows when a woman feels seen. That is the goal, to make her feel seen, heard, and safe emotionally. And when you learn how to validate without fixing or defending, you stop killing connection and start building it. You start building trust, you start building safety, you start building desire. All right, let's move on to number 4. Getting ahead of the fight. This shift might be the most important one of all. This took me a long time to figure. I'm embarrassed to tell you how long it took me to figure this one out. Because here's the thing, just like the other ones, we don't go into a conversation expecting to have a fight or to lose our cool. We don't choose to blow up. We don't plan to shut down. We don't wake up wanting to say something that we regret. what actually happens is this. We miss the early warning signs, right? We don't get ahead of the fight. But here's the reality. Strong men don't wait until they explode. They check the pressure before the lid pops off, right? They learn to read the signals early, and they lead themselves before the fight starts. So here's how to do this. And if you've listened to the podcast for a little while, you would have heard me mention this a couple times. But like I said, I've got a bunch of new listeners, and so this is going to be valuable for you today. The reality is emotions show up in the body first. Most blow-ups don't start with words. They actually start in the body. Before you raise your voice, before you go cold or sarcastic, before you shut down and walk away, your nervous system actually flagged a threat. And that's biology. That's your nervous system. Your body registers stress before your mind even forms a response. You hear me? That's crazy. Your body registers stress before your mind even forms a response. So what happens is you won't be able to control your reactions. You'll just justify them after the fact. So what does this look like? These physical signs, these physical cues that your body has given you. Let me name a few, and I want you to tell me which ones happen to you. All right? Some guys, their chest gets tight. They start breathing shallow. They start to clench their jaw, grind their teeth. Maybe they feel pressure in their head or throbbing in their temples. Maybe your knee starts to bounce or your foot starts to tap. You feel heat rising in your neck or your face. Maybe your shoulders start creeping upward toward your ears. Or you feel this sudden urge to leave the room. You get this flight sensation, this urge. Or you get tunnel vision or racing thoughts, right? This is a symptom of fight, flight, or freeze. These aren't flaws. They are signals, and ignoring these signals is actually what leads to blowups. We have to learn how to get ahead of the fight. So I want you to practice a personal awareness moment, okay? I want you to pause here, not try and pause during the explosion, not try and pause during the argument, but ask yourself, what's the first tremor that you feel? Is it your chest tightening? Is it your leg bouncing? Is it your jaw locking up? Because once you can name it, you can lead it. And awareness is authority. So maybe you don't even know. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you who would know. Your wife. Ask her. Don't ask her when you guys are all pissed off at each other. But when the timing is right, just ask her, be like, hey, I was listening to the Dad Nation podcast, and I was learning about how my body gives away these physical tells before I'm about to lose my cool. What have you noticed in me? I didn't notice this. My wife told me. I rub my hands together when I start getting frustrated. I start sighing pretty heavily. I start pinching the bridge of my nose like this and kind of rubbing my eyebrows. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see what I'm doing. This is kind of what I do when I start getting frustrated. Anyways, she let me know of that. So now when I start doing that, I can pick up and I'd be like, oh, I'm doing that thing. Or you can create a safety word where she says that. You know, she lets you know that you're doing that. It might be banana. I don't care what it is. The safe word where she says a gentle word that would signify, hey, maybe things are getting a little bit tense. Maybe we should just take some space. So let me give you some examples. Number one, the argument that didn't have to happen. Okay, so let's say you come home from work after a long day, and your wife asks you a simple question. Maybe it's a question you don't like. Maybe it's a question you don't want to answer. Your chest tightens. Your breathing starts to get shallow, but you ignore it instead of answering it. She asks it again, and now your jaw is clenched. Then it happens. Your tone starts to sharpen, and you snap. And now the conversation isn't about the question anymore. It's about your reaction. And now rewind. Okay? I want you to run. We're going backwards. The same moment, the same stress, but this time you catch the signal. So you notice your jaw start to clench. You notice your chest start to get a little bit tight. So you say this instead. Hey, babe, I can actually feel myself getting a little bit overwhelmed. I've had a crazy day, and I don't want this to turn into something bigger than it needs to be. Could I take a minute just to gain my composure? Can we push pause on this conversation real quick? I don't want to say something that might upset you. This sentence, this way of delivering it, protects the relationship, it protects your leadership, and it protects her sense of safety because you didn't lose control. You demonstrated it, all right? Here's another situation. When you feel yourself shutting down, this happens to me all the time. This one is quieter, but it's just as damaging. So you're in a situation where you feel overwhelmed. Your shoulders start to creep up. Your mind narrows. You don't yell, you don't fight, but you go cold. And this old pattern looks like silence, distance, withdrawal. Now listen to what getting ahead of the fight sounds like instead. Opening up and just saying something to her to let her know. You know, babe, I want to let you know I'm starting to feel a little bit overloaded. And it's not because of you, right? But could I just take a few minutes to reset so I don't shut down and get short with you? You see, this sentence does three things. Number one, it names your internal state. Number two, it removes the blame. And number three, it keeps you emotionally present. She will appreciate that. I tell you what, she's going to appreciate that a lot more than you stonewalling her and shutting down. Okay? This is the kind of steadiness that builds attraction. Now, why is all this so important? Because I'm telling you this, regulation equals masculine leadership. This is where I want to reframe something important for you. Self-control is not suppression. It's awareness plus your response. When you are aware of your internal state and you are aware enough to choose your response, that is where you want to be. That is healthy leadership. So step number one, you're going to notice the signal. Right? This is my body telling me I'm overloaded, I'm overwhelmed, I'm starting to get dysregulated. Number one, notice the signal. Step two, you're going to name it. Right? I'm getting a little frustrated, or I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed, or I'm feeling a little bit, whatever you want, whatever word descriptor you want to put in there. Name it. Okay. Number three, you're going to pause the pattern. You're going to stop it. Slow your breath. You're going to drop your shoulders. Unclench your jaw. Take a 5-minute pause. There's wisdom in that, right? And then number four, you're going to lead the moment, right? After you might ask for the pause, and then you're going to come back and you're going to share instead of react. You're going to step away on purpose, not in anger. There's the difference. You're stepping away before you're like forcing yourself to. You're stepping away on purpose, not because you're about to punch a hole through the wall. Okay? So step one, notice the signal. Step two, name the signal. Step three, pause the pattern. Step four, lead the moment. Now, here's why this changes everything at home. Because when you get ahead of the fight, right, you stop saying things that you can't take back. Your wife feels safety, not volatility. Conflict becomes repairable instead of explosive. And emotional connection increases instead of eroding. And for those of you who want more physical intimacy in your marriage, emotional connection leads to physical connection. This is the secret sauce, all right? So remember, like I said, this isn't about being softer. No one's saying that. This is about being steadier. And steady men are trusted men. Here's the thing. The pause is power. The pause protects attraction. The fight you prevent is more powerful than the fight you win. Don't put yourself into a situation where you feel like you've got to win a fight. Put yourself in a position where you prevent the fight in the first place. Hey, can I ask you something real quick? If this show has helped you out in any way, if you've gotten any value, clarity, or even just one gut check moment that's made you a better man, husband, or father, would you take 60 seconds and leave us an honest rating or review? And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss a drop. And if you really want to pay it forward, share this episode with a friend. Why? Because we know that there are millions of men out there silently struggling in their marriage, in their health, and in their mindset. Men who maybe were where you were just a few steps ago, feeling tired, stuck, and searching for answers. Finding this podcast might be the thing that changes everything for them. So thank you for being part of this movement and for helping more men become the husbands and fathers their families so desperately need. Now let's get back to the show. Now, just as we start to wrap up this conversation, you might be listening to this and you're thinking, well, what's the big deal? I don't care. Oh, I'm a man. I don't need to talk to her that much, right? I don't need to talk about my feelings. Listen, talking is the whole thing. David White, he's a philosopher and a poet. He says the conversation is the relationship. If you want to know the quality of your marriage, look at the quality of your conversation. This is everything to your wife. not of course every woman, but I'm generalizing, but the vast majority of women, this is the key. This is why we're talking about. You have to be able to communicate freely and confidently, communicate your emotions, all those different things, and create emotional safety for her. I hope you've gotten this message at this point. But there you have it, my friend. 4 tactical strategies that I guarantee will be massive moves in your relationship. So listen, here's what you need to do. Do whatever you need to do to internalize this. All right. Maybe you want to save the episode and come back to it, download it, whatever. Listen to it with your wife. See what she thinks about it. Maybe you want to rewind it and grab a pen. Maybe you're a written processor. Grab your pen and write out these 4 strategies and apply them. Or better yet, you might even want to share this episode with a buddy and have this conversation with him and discuss what it looks like for you both to implement these strategies in your marriages. Hold each other accountable to it, all right? That would be huge. But as we wrap up this conversation today, if this episode has showed you something important or shed light on a corner of your mind where there was darkness before, or maybe you're realizing now that emotional communication is a skill, not just a personality trait, I could train you up in that skill. So if all this has sounded very familiar to you and you've been feeling like I'm speaking to you and your specific situation, I want you to book a complimentary strategy call with me. Because if it's a good fit, I want to be able to help you. This is what I do all day, every day. I've dedicated my life to it. So we can talk about what that looks like. In January, I'm launching a new flagship group coaching program called the High Performance Husband Accelerator. This is my most affordable and accessible program to date. All right, inside the High Performance Husband Accelerator, we're going to build emotional leadership, communication mastery. We're going to deepen connection without losing your edge, and a whole lot more like fitness coaching, marriage coaching, emotional coaching, and there's just tons and tons of stuff in it. 12 months together with like-minded men, getting to the next level in every area of our lives to become the high-performance husband. And if you want to learn more, just go to dadnationco.com/accelerator, or I'm also going to put the link in the show notes below where you can hit that and go check it out. Powerful, powerful stuff there. Second thing, keep your eyes and ears open, my friend, because on January 10th, I'm going to be collaborating with 3 other elite men's coaches to launch something called the Unstoppable Man Summit. Okay? 4 elite coaches, tons of real tools, real brotherhood. And we're talking marriage, we're talking mindset, we're talking fatherhood, and we're talking fitness. Now, I'm going to be talking about this more in the next 2 weeks. But if you want a sneak peek, you can go to unstoppablemansummit.com to check it out. And I'll also put the link in the show notes for that. But listen, as we wrap it up, I want to encourage you with this, brother. You don't need to become someone else. You are already 100% the man that you need to be for your wife and for your family. In fact, she married you for a reason. You don't need to become someone else. You just need the skills that potentially you were never taught. So, it's time to retool, time to reskill, and become the men, husbands, and fathers our families need. Until next time, I'm in your corner. I'll see you next week. Thank you for tuning into the Dad Nation podcast today. Listen, if today's conversation challenged you, if it encouraged you or helped you level up in any area of your life, would you do me a favor? Take 60 seconds to rate and review the show on whatever platform you're listening on. This helps us reach more men who need to hear this message. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Dad Nation YouTube channel, where you're going to find full episodes, clips, and exclusive content designed to help you win at home just like you do at work. All right, remember, your family does not need perfection. They need your presence. Your leadership matters. So keep showing up, keep leveling up, and never forget, when the dad gets better, the whole family wins. We'll see you next time.